well, now I've got to set aside an hour to go to the gym or go in my garage or whatever. When you're first beginning, it's like, shit, like that's, if my coaches are telling me to work out 2 to 3 times a week, that's like 3 hours I need to find in my week, right? So in the beginning, that might be a little bit too much or overwhelming. And so then we think, well, it's fucking too hard, so we don't do it. So I like the 15-minute workout approach that you mentioned. I think it was last week, Jason. I know a lot of the ladies have lined up for it. I think it's more of a mindset hack, right? Waking up and knowing if you've got 15 minutes that you only have to prioritize yourself and pick up a set of weights or do some body weight exercise, it's going to be far more it's beneficial anyway, right? So it doesn't matter where those minutes fit in during the day, as long as you're doing something is amazing. What I will point out is girls that have been around for a long time that are in a great routine, don't go back to thinking that 15, that's all that you need to be doing, because you're in a good, you obviously are a more advanced trainer and you've been around for a longer period of time. But I think the 15-minute approach is very good for someone's just starting out and for someone that is very, very, not great with time management and young kids.
Yeah, yes, but I also don't think it's bad if someone is in the habit of going 3 times a week and they're feeling a little bit like, you know what, I would really like to move into a consistent kind of train every day for a shorter period of time, so then it keeps my routine. That type of a person, I think it's a really good idea. So whatever the case, guys, minimum effective dose is a good question. Like, how much should I do? Well, enough, more than you're not doing. Like, don't try to think that the only reason that you do exercise is if you can do 10,000 steps a day and train 4 days a week. It doesn't work like that. Any little bit is a good thing. Okay, so let's talk about Shane's question. If you can't do squats due to knee pain, any suggestions? So here's a really interesting kind of take on this, Shano. Firstly, we have the best rehab PT in the world in our infrastructure. One of our coaches, Troy, he specializes in rehab, and he'd be best to answer this question. But what I'm going to say to you, man, is here's the thing, right? Like, knee pain sucks. It really does suck. But if you just don't move that joint at all, what ends up happening is it almost gets worse because now it's got no mobility. Okay? I think it's important to keep getting movement through that joint, but reducing potentially the load that you're doing. So if, for example, you can't do heavy back squats, that's completely fine. But I would still be trying to work out a way that you can get that hinge in your knee so that you're not just letting that joint completely rust up. Does that make sense, brother? Now, consulting a good rehab PT, I think, is a really, really good start, because I personally don't believe in the idea that your doctor told you never to do deadlifts again, so don't do deadlifts. Like, I don't think that's a good approach. I think the less the more you avoid something, the more you exacerbate the actual problem. Does that make sense? Tony asks, I'm 63 male. Should I do 3 or 4 times a week? Should I rest more being my age? Thoughts on that, Carls?
What a great question, Tony. So I'm assuming that you're talking about in terms of training. What I would suggest, particularly as we get older, is making sure that you're doing full body exercises, in my opinion, and not doing split sessions, right? Because the average person is going to get really sore anyway. So making sure that if you are working out 2 to 3 times a week, you're working each muscle group, and that's probably going to be the most effective way to train.
I agree. Carolyn asks the question, should I be starting my exercise week on Sundays and not Mondays? See, Carolyn, it's so crazy, right? That it's actually, like, to me, that seems like a question which you're like, really? But these are the types of questions that we really need to know that get in the way. Dude, like, not only do you not need to start on a Monday, not only do you not need to start on a Saturday, your exercise week doesn't even need to be 7 days. What if the program that you got given, you did it over a 9-day period? So, for example, if it was a 3-day-a-week program, you trained once every 3 days, meaning that you train 3 days out of 9. Like, we've got these constructs in our mind that are like, oh, you've got to fit into this box. It's kind of like this idea that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Really? Is it? Why? And once you start to question what you've always believed, you realize that actually, hey, you need to eat less food to lose weight. Really? What if I just ate lower calorie food? So this is a great example of that. It doesn't matter when you start your week, Caroline. It
Is this
really
Caroline in the group, Jace? Because I
Yeah.
can't see the comments. Is this Caroline in the group? And
Yep.
I'm going to assume that Caroline's probably asking that because I always say I start my week on a Sunday. And the reason why I say that, Caroline, is because it's a mind thing for me. I love being ahead of the game, my game. So if I start my week on a Sunday, I feel like I'm on top of everything. I'm so much more productive. It's just a mind thing. Like, I think because I train 4 days a week, I usually train Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then I have Wednesday, Thursday off and go again on Friday, right? But if I miss my Sunday, I feel like almost I've got to jam them into the week. So I like to space them out a little bit, but it's more just, I'm ahead of my week. That's all it is for me.
I love that. And if you can get ahead psychologically, even if it's just a placebo, you're just tricking yourself. It's like, for me, that's what's great about getting up early. It's the same concept. You get up early, you feel like everyone else is behind you. Like, that for me is one way to go against that feeling of failure. Shane, just on your point, you mentioned here that not doing squats due to knee pain. One of my boys, Chris, here said, my knee soreness has improved out of sight with squats. And this is a point that that's the point that I wanted to make, is that part of the issue is, if you think about it like this, if it's got no mobility, it just gets more rusty and rusty and rusty, kind of like a swinging door that doesn't open, right? It's like, it just gets rustier and rustier, and it builds up. No movement, gets worse. We've got to get movement through it. It just doesn't have to be super heavy, if that makes sense. All right, let's get over to Beck Smart's question. If I'm on a reverse diet, don't feel hungry, or I want more food, but I'm still losing weight, am I supposed to increase my calories, or can I just hang out at 1850 to 2050 calories I'm at? I'm feeling strong and energetic. All right, so let me read this again. If I'm on a reverse diet, I don't feel hungry, or that I want more food, but I'm still losing weight, am I supposed to increase my calories? This is a fantastic position to be in, Beck. And this is why you're one of the OGs, right? Is because you listen to the coaching that you're given and you do resistance training. And that is why you are having this situation. What you're basically saying, Beck, is I'm not actually that hungry. I'm at 2,000 calories. I'm not actually that hungry. But what do I do now? Like, do I keep forcing myself to eat? Look, we could go in a million different directions with this whole reverse diet thing. But what is the point of reverse dieting? Okay, the idea is that it's not anything magic, right? All it basically is giving your body some more calories so that it can try to build muscle, and so that you can get stronger and create a bit better body composition. That's why. Now, that's also going to set us up to do another cut later on down the track. In your case, you're still losing weight, which means you're still in a calorie deficit. So is this a good thing for you? Well, it's up to you. You need to be the caller of that. For me, if you want you're in the ultimate position here, Beck, that if you are able to, focus on slowly increasing your calories, get your resistance training in, lifting as hard and heavy as you can, because I know that you've got the capacity to do that. That's the right thing to say to a strong young woman. Focus on on building muscle, okay? What's happening is you're probably stepping up the intensity of your workouts a little bit, and your body's now going, well, I need more calories, right? So your metabolism's being pushed up is exactly what you want. Now, you're kind of saying, but appetite-wise, I don't really feel like I need the extra calories. There's a real psychology in reverse dieting. And a couple of the girls like Deb Hoberg, Megan J, they can tell you about it because they're deep in it. Anyone that's ever done a reverse diet or increased their calories after a period of deficit understands exactly what you're going through. It's psychology. But I would suggest if you want to put yourself in the ultimate position of like really building some muscle out, and I would just keep going personally. And what you can do, Beck, is you don't need to necessarily eat a bunch of extra food. You can now just include some more higher calorie food. You can have chicken thighs instead of chicken breast. You can add some olive oil or some extra avocado. It doesn't actually mean you need to eat a ton more food. And what's really important, I'm going to preempt what Carly's going to say, is that like 2,000 calories is just, it's actually not a lot of calories. That's really important to remember. Like everyone thinks like, whoa, like I'm back up to 2,000 calories. I'm on a huge amount of calories. You're not. Like you're not. You really.
I agree, Jace. I think, Beck, you should be, eat more avocado and things like that. So you're not like adding a whole lot more food, but you're getting the more sneaky calories in that way. And you're hitting PBs like every fortnight, which is bloody amazing. So you need to push your calories up and focus on that strength, Beck, because I know that's what's important to you.
100%. Okay, let's get to, there was a question here from Emma. I'm 6 weeks in and wondering, is there a common amount of time we are to follow the cutting calories plan, or is it based on the individual? So the Fat Loss Kickstarter plan. You can answer that.
Yep. So I think following the meal plan for 4 to 6 weeks is what everyone should be doing. Okay. If you feel, so I suggest to a lot of the ladies that you start to learn how to track your nutrition around week 4, week 5, week 6, and start doing it on the meal plan so that it doesn't matter if you make mistakes and you can start to learn how to navigate your way around the app. If you are confident and you're making swaps and the rest of it, absolutely, you can move away from the meal plan. There is not a problem with that whatsoever. If you feel like you want to stay on the meal plan for longer because it takes the tracking out of it, it takes the thinking out of it and the overwhelm, and you've got your shopping list, do it. But make sure that by the end of this, you've got the tools and you've learned how to do this forever. Because what you don't want to do is live off the meal plan and think, yeah, I've got this. And then, leave the program when you get to that point and then be like, okay, I've got no meal plan. Now what the hell do I do? Yeah. As long as you get the tools by the time you are ready to move on, that's what's most important.
Yeah, good advice there. So, Amy, what's the difference between ThermoWhey and whey protein isolate powders? So I'm thinking that you're looking at the ThermoWhey of bulk nutrients. Is that what you're talking about? And if you are, I'm just kind of going to the website. My understanding is that, okay, yeah. So they call it a fat burning protein that combines both whey and casein protein. Okay, so it's a combination protein, all right? So when you basically turn dairy products into a protein powder, 2 protein fragments come out of that. So you take the raw material and you extract the protein. The main one is whey, and then whey gets refined into different types. The other one is casein, okay? Casein is a longer lasting protein. Okay, it breaks down slower in your body. So what it is suggested for is a good protein at nighttime. The reason is that it keeps delivering amino acids to your body over the course of a night. In other words, it keeps you full. I think it's actually a good idea, right? But it's not magic. Right? If you're the sort of person that likes, for example, to have a protein shake before bed, having something like ThermoWhey, I mean, the ThermoWhey, heat whey, like it's a bit of marketing, but I don't think there's any major downside. I think it's actually a good upside to have a casein protein before bed. It'll just tie you over if you get a lot of nighttime hunger. But apart from that, I wouldn't kind of go too far into it. No fear of that an hour and a half to myself. Yeah, exactly, Kaz. Okay, Rach says, I'm go to some sort of class 5 days a week girl. So some of it's cardio. What are your thoughts on regular cardio classes, Carls?
Yep. Rachel, it would depend what your goal is. If you want to run a marathon, well, you need to work on your cardio health, right? But if you are wanting weight loss or trying to improve your body composition, I would be pulling back on the cardio and lifting weights. Now, if you're, as well, I want to mention, if you're training 5 days per week, I would be more questioning what's the intensity, because for the average, I don't know which Rach we're talking to, but I don't know if you're a mum. I don't know if you've got kids. I don't know if you're training 5 days because you think you need to be training 5 days. For me, I train 4 days max because my sessions, I go in there with intensity. However, if you're training 5 days because of, to keep your mind healthy, amazing. But I think that's a bit of a broad question to be able to just pinpoint and give you straight advice without knowing.
That's a really good piece of coaching, Carls, because what you're doing is you're saying, oh, hang on, stop, right? More is not necessarily better. Let's ask ourselves, what's the goal? So if Rach was to frame up that my goal is simply to look as good as I possibly can. Well, if you were training 1 day in the gym and the other 5 days or 4 days kind of doing spin classes, that's exactly the wrong process, right? But if your goal was to get really good at spin classes, that's a completely different situation. Do you know what I mean? So this is why we've got to start with what's the goal and work back from there. But in most cases, most people in our environment, they're trying to change their body composition. And the best kind of focus would be, particularly for a beginner, 3 days a week in the gym. And then if you want to do some additional stuff, okay, cool, do that as an additional. Or, as we said at the top of this little episode, 15 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day as a resistance type setup. Ange says, my back and strength has improved out of sight since I stopped fearing what could happen after hurting my back. And well, that's it. Like I was kind of listening to a podcast yesterday, Carl's talking about like some old, weightlifter guys say, do you do deadlifts anymore? And they're like, oh, I don't do deadlifts because, I hurt my back and it's because they were power lifters lifting massive amounts of weight and they've got some issues now. But I want to keep deadlifting till I'm 80 or 90 years old because I was thinking in my head, these things are the reasons that I have bulletproofed my back. I've got a strong back because I deadlift, not because I avoided doing it.
And I think going back to, I can't remember, it might have been Shane as well. That's right. Like don't avoid squats and things like that because I'm not saying go and get under a bar, but if you think about it, we're bending down doing those things during the day. We're picking up things and putting things into the pantry. Like they're like, all the different the compound things that we're doing in the gym. So it's not that you have to lift really heavy, but I think it would be smart to keep repeating those patterns, right? So that you can do those movements during the day with ease.
And if you think about a bodybuilder, there's this kind of argument between like, what's better out of machines or free weights, right? And a lot of bodybuilders will say, oh, absolutely machines, because I don't have to worry about balancing the weight. I can just lift the weight. But for the average person who's not a bodybuilder, yes, you want to look good, 100%. We all want that. But you want to be functional, right? You want to get to a decent old age and not be broken. The best repellent to injury is going to be lifting free weights in a full range of motion. It really, really is. God, we've got some good questions coming out. Amanda says, or makes the point, Sunday is my rest day. So I do start Mondays. And again, it's each way you want to skin the cat. Sonia says, my favorites, two favorites. Jay will be jealous. Love it. Hi, everyone. So son just came home from school. I'm sucking on a yogurt while my son eats sour face dips. Where do they come up with the names of junks? Totally. Did you just say something, Carls?
No, she said she was having sucking on a yogurt like it was a bad thing. And I'm like, good choice.
I like it. Amanda says, I have body weight squats in my schedule. Is it okay to start including weights, either holding weight plates or barbell? Yeah, absolutely. Are you training at home, Amanda? Just offhand? Because if you are training at home, absolutely. The first thing that I would probably add, the way I would add it, is called a goblet squat. Okay, it's very simple. You basically take a dumbbell, or you can take a plate weight, and you kind of hold it like this, right? And then you just do a squat from this position, right? So it's a really safe, easy way to do it. Okay, what else have we got for questions, guys? If you want to ask anything, pop it in the comments. Mel says, Beck, you're looking so good. How's the pull-ups going? Yeah, let us know how the pull-ups going, Bex. Hey, Lee Taylor, what's happening, mate? Thank you, Bulk Nutrients all the way. Yep. Christina says, I've been training 5 days, but one of them is about technique. So I don't count that. Is that okay? Yeah, it's a weight technique class. I think that's amazing, Christina. I think it's amazing. One of the reasons that people feel like they don't get results in the gym is because their technique is not great. And that's not a criticism. That's because it takes practice. So they give up because they're not seeing results, right? But if your technique's good, you see results, you don't get injured, you get stronger, and you want to keep doing it. So I think this is amazing. Okay, guys, do you want to ask any questions? Cheryl says, hey guys, just want to know, what's the purpose of fasting until lunchtime?
Beautiful. Cheryl in the program. Cheryl, for most of us, we are obviously in the situation we're in because we've eaten an excess amount of calories for a period of time. So the purpose of fasting is just to kind of back end your calories, Cheryl. So if you skip breakfast, it might be 300-400 calories. It just allows you to have that little bit of a runway during lunchtime to dessert time. So with the meal plan, Cheryl, you can eat the entire meal plan over 6 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours. It makes no difference. All we're doing is just almost reducing the hours of eating and putting them into a smaller window. And if you can try and back end your calories a little bit, drinking water, drinking coffee, this is a perfect way to reduce your total intake. That being said, you do not have to fast if it doesn't suit you, and it's not going to affect your results.
It's not going to affect your results. So the options are that we would suggest, Cheryl, would be option A, do some fasting for breakfast. And the reason you would do that is because it's easy if you just skip that meal and have bigger meals later in the day at lunch and dinner. If all you do is move the timing of the meal, so you have, for example, a lunch at normal time, dinner at normal time, and then a massive dessert at the end of the day where you ate the same amount of calories that you would have if you had eaten breakfast, is completely pointless. It doesn't actually do anything. It comes down to the total amount of calories that you eat in a day. Now, on that note, if you have any questions, you can ask them into the comments. We've got the question, how do I know if I'm actually in a calorie deficit? Or just telling myself I am because I eat healthy during the week? This is a great question. How do you know if you're in a calorie deficit? And here's the thing. Anyone that's ever done a calorie deficit, been on a calorie deficit, tried to adhere to a calorie deficit knows what? It's hard. You get hungry and your brain plays tricks on you. This is the reason that people yo-yo diet. Aside from the emotions, you're running out of petrol, right? So when you're running out of petrol, you're hungry. So there are some signs that you could be in a calorie deficit. You could be hungry. You could be low on energy. You could be low on your libido. You could be feeling like your recovery is not as good. These types of things can tend to indicate it. But you will know if you're in a calorie deficit if over 2 or 3 weeks you start losing some weight. Now, this is where it gets really hard with clients and trying to both empathize with them, but give them coaching on this. If you are in a calorie deficit, by definition, this means that you will lose weight. You will lose weight. I'm not going to go into the boring laws of energy balance, but you will lose weight. So you will know if you're in a calorie deficit if you're losing weight. Now, that has to be over time. If you do a calorie deficit and you reduce your calories for a week and then eat more the next week, that's not what we're talking about. If you're in a consistent calorie deficit, you'll see it starting to show up on the scales. Now, that doesn't mean that will continue forever. You'll eventually reach some plateaus and the weight will stop coming off. And the reason that that happens is because when you lose weight, your body needs less calories. So it's almost like a counterbalance. Okay. Hopefully that answers the question. Guys, if you have any questions, particularly if you're one of our clients, would love to be able to have the chance to answer you. Chris says, I thought fasting was going to be stressful, but I find it kind of therapeutic. You know what, Chris, that's a really, really good point. I think one of the good benefits of fasting for a lot of people is they feel quite clear in the mind. And why is that? Well, the gut isn't focused on putting blood into this area to digest food, right? Instead, it's circulating and you're not worried about feeding your face. It is quite therapeutic. I agree. Ari says, what type of core exercises to do if you've had a lower back injury years ago? I'll answer this, Carlos, because probably not necessarily your specialty. To be honest, Ari, I don't do a lot of core exercises. And the reason I don't do a lot of core, like I very rarely train specifically core. Maybe I should. I would do some captain chair kind of knee lifts, that type of stuff. But the reason I don't is because I do a lot of compound movements like squats and deadlifts, which require you to brace your core during those movements. So I personally don't do a lot of core exercises. Man, if you could, Ari, would you like to pop that question on the group wall just as a picture post and tag Coach Troy in it? I'd love to get his opinion on what exercises he would recommend. Okay, so guys, if you've got any questions, bang them up. Why does my weight go up 1 to 2 kilos after the weekend, even when I didn't really feel like I overdid it? Carlos?
Yep. Well, I would say maybe you changed something with your eating habits. So maybe you had, maybe you had more processed food, maybe you had some carbohydrates, maybe your salt intake was a little bit higher. So therefore, you're holding on to a little bit more water than usual. It could be that it could be your hormones, weight fluctuations because of that. Like it could be a bunch of things, but if it's just because you feel like it's after the weekend, that's probably what it is. It's just a change in your diet.
In addition, what a lot of people do, and I don't know if this is you guys, but your weekend schedule around sleep is very different. You might go to bed really late, maybe get up a little bit later. Just these types of fluctuations can actually make a world of difference to your weight. And this is why, again, with weight, we've got to look at the trend over time rather than the bumps that occur each day. How much protein do I realistically need per day as a 42-year-old dad trying to lose fat and build some muscle? Thoughts?
Yep. So I love that you've got a goal that you want to lose weight. You mentioned lose weight and build muscle. So we suggest to our men around, a minimum of 180 grams of protein to 200. And if you are not eating, you may not be eating that if maybe because you're asking that question. A lot of people are under eating protein. So to go from maybe like 60, 80 grams of protein and then making it 180 is massive. It's a big jump. So I would just suggest that you aim for around 100, 120, and then slowly increase it and get it up to around that 180, 200 grams.
You know what? You can't accidentally hit 180 to 200 grams. You have to plan it, right? And if there's one thing that you can control, you eat more protein. And I don't really mean like going to protein powders. There's nothing wrong with protein powders, but they don't have the same satiating effect on your body, right? Protein powders are good. Protein bars are good, but they don't provide the same satiation of the whole food, which comes with water as well, right? So if you have a piece of steak or you have a piece of chicken or fish, not only do you get the protein, but you get the fullness of the actual water as well. So this is where if you're having a lot of whole foods that are high in protein, you just get satiated. I was watching Carl's, we're in Japan at the moment and carbs are aplenty here, right? There's a lot of carbs, noodles, rice, different bloody fried dishes and shit like this. And I was watching the kids, my kids, and yesterday they just ate and ate and ate and ate and ate, non-freaking stop. And then I thought about it. Why are they still hungry? How can they still be hungry? All they were doing was eating noodles and rice and carbs. There was no satiation, right? This morning they fed up on like eggs and smoked salmon, and they're kind of like, oh, daddy, I'm full, right? And they haven't complained about it all day. This effect, guys, is real. You teach your kids to do this, it will help. Susan said, my weight loss has really slowed since I've lost about 5% of my body weight. Should I recalculate my calories? Suze, we had a call around this. So remember, I'm just going to remind you of the call that we had, right? Because I remember you're not massively overweight, Suze. And so what we need to do is we need to say, okay, well, where are your calories at? If your calories are at 2 or 2,200, 2,100, if you want, you can do a little mini cut, and that won't be the worst thing in the world if you feel that you need that. But I know you train hard. You're an animal in the gym, right? You're an old school lifter. You want to go and work. And so the issue is going to be that if we drop calories, your sessions are going to suffer, right? So what I would be just reminding you of is what we discussed. And that's the role of a coach, is to keep encouraging the client, hey, you know what? I get it. You still want to lose weight. Hey, you're not putting on weight, Suze. That's the key. You're not putting on weight. I think when we spoke, you were like, I feel like I'm kind of putting on. You feel like you are, or you are. You weren't, right? So what we need to do is I would suggest, keep focusing on what you're doing. Rectify your metabolism, get super strong, prioritize your resistance training. As Rebecca Smart is, start to slowly increase your calories. If we can get you, Suze, back to like 21, 22, 23, 2,500, and you stay there and you build some muscle, then absolutely we can do a calorie cut. But we've always got to remember that you're going to have a slowdown in your weight. That's normal. That's not abnormal. That's completely normal. That's to be expected. Why? Because when you lose weight, you need less calories, whether that weight is fat or muscle. You generally need less calories. So I wouldn't be all of a sudden starting to cut your calories down unless you're coming from a very high number, which from memory you weren't. So, and then she says in the comments, thanks for reminding and reaffirming. Suze, you will always have, like, and ladies particularly, you will always have the ability to do a calorie cut in the future. The thing that you've got to get past is this like, oh, I'm feeling frumpy, oh, I'm feeling fat. Do you know how many girls I've been on the calls to over the course of the last week to 2 weeks where they said, I'm just getting fat? I'm like, okay, cool. Let's have a look at your tracking. And their weight is the same. No, it's not. You are feeling like that. But here's what you got to do. You've got to push the emotion to the side and look at the facts. The facts are you're not putting on weight, despite what you feel. If you always react to how you feel, that's what gets us stuck. You with me, Tim? We've got Mel says, loving the program. Is there anything else I should be doing to balance my hormones during perimenopause except exercise and nutrition? Got an insight there, Kels?
Well, that is an absolutely fantastic start. That's where you should start. You should be making sure that you're getting quality sleep, Mel. And as well, you should absolutely be talking to your doctor and somebody that's, again, is listening to you and testing for all of this stuff. And then, of course, like if you put something, this is why I encourage you girls, put this stuff into the community. I want you girls to learn off the other girls in this group that are going through perimenopause, that are going through menopause, because sometimes I just don't have the answer. What I can tell you is you need a doctor, and we hear it time after time after time after we spoke to Dr. Ginny, right? Is you need a GP that is going to listen to you. That's what's most important. But Mel, what you're doing right now, this is the best thing that you're doing, is you're improving your entire lifestyle. You're lifting weights. That's what's most important. Your resistance training, your quality of sleep, and upping your protein, prioritizing your protein, particularly at this time of your life, because you want to be preserving your muscle mass, what you've got now, and you want to continue to build on that, because it only becomes harder and harder.
And let's just talk about this, like, balancing my hormones thing. Like, it's almost like there is this magical, like, because hormones are a weird thing to understand, right? We almost think that there's this like magical perfect line that all our hormones should be like, what does that actually mean? Balancing my hormones. All that is a term that fitness industry people use to try to sell you some shit, right? Take this drink and balance your hormones. Like,
how?
Particularly female hormones are all but never balanced.
Because they're going to be going up and down, aren't they?
Yeah, you have cycles. So like this idea that you're going to have like this fixed line of hormones doesn't really work like that. And by the way, that's not a criticism of you. That's you saying back what you've been coached to understand, Mel. So you're going to have wild fluctuations in your hormones, and the major cause of those is going to be disturbances to your lifestyle. Okay, as Carly pointed out around exercise and nutrition, there are some things that you can do to assist the achievement of what we'd probably say is an optimal hormone range for you as a woman at your age, either peri, pre, or post menopause. But that's going to be involved with a doctor, and what they're going to basically tell you is some combination of lifestyle intervention and HRT. Right? If you're open to that concept, and where the HRT comes in is if your hormone production is lower than it needs to be it testosterone or progesterone or estrogen or whichever one of the hormones that might need to be looked at, it's as Nikki's saying in the comments, you will think that your hormones are balances and that something changes, then they're on a roller coaster all over again. So probably a better question rather than balancing the hormones, mate, is listen, what can I do to set my lifestyle up to support a good hormonal environment, right? And the way to do that is try to sleep where you can, try to not stress too much, easier said than done, try to walk a bit, try to lift some weights, do the principles that we teach you here, and your hormones will kind of take care of themselves to their best ability, and then you might need some assistance with some therapy. And that would be the exact same for men, by the way. It's the exact same thing for men. Okay, so Bev says, advised by a doctor, eat at 10 a.m., 2 p.m., then 6 p.m., last food for the day. Gives me 16-hour fasting time. Is that okay to do? Lots of protein in meals. What are your thoughts about that, Carls?
So you're fasting? Sorry, so you're fasting...
Fasting at 10 till 10, like so from 6 till 10. So it's a 16-hour fast.
Yep. My biggest thing would be how much protein are you eating?
Yeah.
Because if you're the longer you guys are fasting for, the shorter window as well that you've got this amount of protein to eat. And so usually when we become overweight, it's because we're not eating enough protein, right? So that's what you can fast for as long as you want to fast. So fasting isn't obviously suitable for some people. We're diabetics and pregnant women and breastfeed. Like it really depends. But like fast for as long as you want to. If you like that, great, by all means. But if it's for a weight loss goal, just make sure that you're in a calorie deficit and you're still hitting your protein target.
Yeah. So Bev, for you, there'd be no difference if you wanted to start eating at 8 a.m. or 6 a.m. or whatever. If you ate to a calorie level that is either in deficit or at maintenance or in surplus based on whatever your goals are, you'll get to the goals whether you fast or not. The fasting is just it's an adherence strategy. It's a way to help you achieve a result. It is not the way to the result. Does that make sense, mate?
Really, really loving these questions, right? And it's so clear with just the confusement that we see online. And I just love when the guys come in and go like, what's the answer to this? Or this is what I've been told. Like, and it's hard to unlearn that stuff and learn a new way.
You know what's even better? When you make up words that are that are combinations of two different words, such as.
What did I say?
What did you say? It was. I don't know what it was, but it was good anyway. Guys, we're going to finish up in a second. If you guys have no extra questions, but please, if you want to ask anything by the time we wind this out, happy to answer anything and everything. We're going to answer a couple more questions that we've got here. How do I stop sabotaging myself with alcohol on a Friday and Saturday nights without feeling like I'm missing out? I think you're a good person to talk to this.
Yep. So how do I stop sabotaging myself with, okay, so I would be asking myself, why am I drinking? Like, are you actually sabotaging or actually do you love it? Like, so are you drinking alcohol because you've had a really stressful week? Are you drinking alcohol because you hate your job and that's your time to let your hair out? Are you drinking alcohol to try and manage the kids? Like, it's not even the alcohol you can make.
I'm losing my beans.
What'd you say? You're losing your beans.
I'm losing my beans at the comments because everyone picked it up. It was a combination of confusing and amusement at the same time, and you called it confusement. It's best ever.
Confusement. What is it? Confusion.
Oh,
that's so good.
Anyway, we're back. So I agree.
So the alcohol, the sabotaging and that, like, ask yourself, why are you drinking? And then if you don't enjoy the drinking, well, don't drink. If you enjoy drinking and it's for a social thing, then, and you want to lose weight and you want to start to change things up, try and make a better switch to a lower calorie drink.
It's just it's one of those things, right, where, look, let's just be honest with it, okay? Nothing good comes from alcohol.
Except a good time.
Except a good time, right? That's it. Like, there's nothing like there's nothing, like, you could talk about the fucking like antioxidants in wine till the cows come home, but the net evidence is that there's nothing good. I still drink alcohol because I really enjoy having a glass of wine. So the question that you've kind of got to really be honest in answering for yourself is, have you got a problem with it? And if it's a big problem, that's a big problem, and you kind of just need to get rid of it. The second question you have to ask yourself is, like, when you step on the scales every week, every Monday and Tuesday, and you're like, shit, I failed again. Like, probably the thing you need to do more than anything is get rid of the alcohol, just because it is sabotaging. It is, in a way, it's you feeling like you need an outlet and life feels otherwise boring and you just need to just do something fun to let your head down and block out the noise and the self-talk and all that sort of stuff. But I'll drink alcohol. You kind of just, it's like putting a Band-Aid on, and it doesn't actually fix the problem itself. So you kind of got to have a hard conversation with yourself about this one. Okay, guys. Well, if we don't, so Amy says, like I just gave up the wine altogether almost 2 years ago without one, and I feel better for it. And I'm not saying that anyone needs to do that. Like, that's your choice. It's a matter of, like, is it in control? And if it's not, like, you probably know this and you don't need someone to tell you about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, team. Well, we are going to love you and leave you there. I hope this episode has been once again helpful. It's nice to do the episode with Carls and get a little bit of mixed voice in this one. Team, just remember, there will not be a Q&A tomorrow, but everything else is as normal. We might do a couple of podcasts this week as well over the course of the week, but hopefully this has been helpful. That's it. Thanks for coming in, sharing your eyeballs.